Okay, we're back again. It's been about a week, a little bit more since I looked at this project. But if I recall from last time, what we wanted to do was add like a little button here or something that indicates we're recording and that we can use to toggle recording. I think a recording button, uh, as the name implies, makes sense to do here. Something that's a darkish red when it's not recording and you can click it and it'll record or prompt you to choose an output or something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool to have. I'm not exactly sure how I want the UI around here to look, but we can start with that and see how we go. Okay. So we're going to want a widget. So let's open up widgets and we'll want I guess I'll put it down the bottom. We want a draw record button. Yeah, I think we also want to pass in an audio index because with immediate mode UI, the drawing and the state is done at the same time. So as we draw this button, we'll want to see if the button's been clicked so that we can change if we're recording or not. And I guess all this can happen on the UI thread, and we can have another thread that actually spawns. Do we want to do that? Is that how we want to do that? Spawn a thread? I mean, yes, we definitely want to spawn a thread. That's almost a given. But do we want to have the UI thread spawn a new one, or do we want to have something in the background that just picks up that record variable to check if it's time to record? I'm not sure that one makes as much sense since we know the time when we need to start recording, which is when we check if the button's been clicked. We know the exact time we want to start recording. I don't think it makes sense to waste cycles. Although spinning up a new thread is a little expensive, but I don't think it's so expensive we need to care. What did we do on the last one? I think that's in main, right? Probe for audio devices. I think that does it. We got a printf there apparently. This is the device info. Yeah, we might come back to that. I'm not sure we need it. We'll keep it there. We'll maybe come back to it. Right, so this is, that's a good point. We can maybe have a thread that manages all of the input, and that's possibly far more sensible. So the thread that computes the gain, it maybe makes sense for that to also process packets. So maybe instead of compute gain thread, it should be process audio thread. And as part of processing audio, we compute gain. I'm not sure how fast we need to process audio at 192,000 hertz. Well, I mean, it tells you how fast you need it. You need to do it at 192,000 hertz. Okay, let's do some back of the napkin math. Well, okay, that's 192 kilohertz, and my processor is, I don't know, 3 something gigahertz. So okay, no, we're fine. We can do that. I think we can. That leaves us headroom of mega, giga, well, mega and 10, let's say. So we can do, if we had the whole core to ourselves, we could do 10 million operations a second. Or 10 million operations per sample, strictly. Or more correctly, rather than strictly, just correctly. 10 million operations a sample. It doesn't seem like much, but I think it's plenty. I think it's plenty. I think we can get away with what is going on here. I think we can get away with that. I'm pretty sure that's plenty. I'm pretty sure. We'll see what happens when we start adding filters. I'm not sure if we will want to separate this out later. But I think for now we'll keep the architecture simple. We won't make it complicated until we need to. And if we need to, we can do that later. So launch audio thread. And we're going to have, this is going to be the audio, or this is going to be process audio. Process audio device. Process audio input. I don't know. Right, and we maybe want to connect this to output devices, but I think we're just going to do that inside the audio input structure. Yeah, I think that's how we're going to do it. So inside our audio input structure, which state, inside our audio input structure, we'll have a list of output devices. I'm feeling less good about this being a property. About this being a property of the audio input, because it's really derived, but it is derived directly from the input, and it is something that we want. And we're not going to be keeping the input, so you need to derive it directly from the input. It's not something you can really derive from auxiliary information. And we're not keeping our input, we're throwing it away. So we do have to compute this at the time we get our input. We can't compute it later unless we keep all of the samples, but I have no intention of keeping them. We might want to. I'm just thinking about like how many different things we might want to do with our audio input. Like before I mentioned we might want to have something silly like maybe not a spectrogram, but something silly like a waveform on the audio page. In which case, I don't know if it makes sense to compute that at the same time as we get our input, or if it makes sense to compute that later. Because the more things we add, the more this process audio thread is just this function, this process audio is just going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, and we're going to have to conditionally enable or disable those things. Well, I mean, strictly we don't have to. We can't do all the processing at once and then have the UI thread pick up what it needs. So we can kind of do all the processing but hide it. That does strike me as wasteful, particularly as we want to do more and more processing. That thread's just going to get bigger and bigger. I don't know, maybe it does make sense just to keep all the samples in memory. Instead of throwing away that buffer, just keep it. This is a classic time memory trade-off problem. Do we want to waste memory by keeping all the samples? 192,000 a second. Or do we want to slow the whole program down again by doing potentially wasteful computation? Though, to be fair, we can... I was going to say we can conditionally enable or disable it in the process audio thread instead of in the UI. But then we have that problem of the process audio thread just getting larger and larger and larger. I think we can probably re-architect this to be neater. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think we can have a list of functions which we run over our input. This is sounding like it's going to be kind of slow, but I think we can do that. We have a list of functions. So let's go to our audio thread in main process audio. So while samples, yep, read a frame. Okay. Receive the frame. Yeah. And this is where we do not the whole gain computation, but some of it. So I think that makes sense. Down here, we can have something like for, I equal, or not, yes, I. Oh, right, we're doing this loop. This is going to have to change, unfortunately, but that's fine. We can do a classic while I equals 0, I is less than num. I don't want to call them filters. Whatever, num funcs, I++. And then we can have an array of audio proc funcs, where this is a function pointer. And then we can pass the frame. And we can do processing on the frame. And maybe even have like a audio proc funcs, audio proc context, which is, I don't know, just a void pointer to the memory or something. So that this function here can update its context. So I think that makes sense. I think there's a way we can re-architect this so that this function doesn't get so ugly. But that'll be a future problem. But I think I'm comfortable that there's a way we can untangle ourselves from this mess if we start going down this path, which I think is important. We don't want to end up in a place where we're stuck. We need to change literally everything. Okay, so let's get rid of that. I'm comfortable with doing this now. I think we can dig out of this hole, so to speak, if we have to. Okay. I don't know how I want to order this. I mean, I should order it such that it's packed, but whatever. Okay, and the other thing we want to know is we want to know if we're recording. In fact, record, well, the thing is we maybe want multiple places where we output. We'll definitely want some settings. Though those are wrapped up in the codec. When you initialize the codec, you get the settings. I think the settings will maybe just come in from the UI. I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense that when you change a setting in the UI reaches into the audio input structure and then changes all this stuff. That does give us a time of check, time of use bug though, because we have the UI thread writing instead of just reading from this. Are we going to make this program too complex to fix? I don't think so. The multiple writers thing is unfortunate. We can kill this thread and relaunch it. And that maybe makes sense. When we change an audio device, it maybe makes sense just to kill its processing thread. Let's go back to main. What is this? This is process audio. No. I want to see where we initialize them, which is here, probe for audio devices. Yes, this is per device. Right, but here we do all the setup we need. And then here we launch the processing thread. And I think that makes sense. Yeah, so maybe later we'll have to tweak exactly how this works and how this probe for audio devices work. But I think, yeah, I think it's sensible just to kill the thread when we make a change and then reset it up. And I think it only makes sense to make a change if you're not recording. So I don't think we'll end up with time of check, time of use. I mean, we maybe will, but in a way that I'm not concerned about. I don't think we will because we'll just kill the processing thread. We'll kill the writer before we do anything.